Hi all, good evening everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce discussing for today's session Hitakshi. Hitakshi wears many hats and moves comfortably across diverse fields. She is preventive medicine practitioner, deeply committed to understanding and improving health at both individual and population levels. Her work extends into leadership development, where she helps individual and team navigate complexity, uncertainty, and growth. She also has a strong interest in data and research, bringing an analytical lens to the questions that are often deeply human and deeply personal. So, although she now lives in a beautiful surroundings of Goa, likes to believe that life has made her completely relaxed, and those who know her well might gently disagree with this. So perhaps that makes her particularly qualified for today's conversation because fear, anxiety, uncertainty, and self doubt do not disappear simply because we understand them, and they remain part of what makes us human. So today's session, Being Afraid Together, invites us to explore a subject that touches every one of us, regardless of our profession, experience, or stage of life. Sometimes it protects us, sometimes it motivates us, and sometimes it holds us back. So yet we are rarely take the time to look at it closely. Today we will explore our fear together and reflect on how they shape our decisions, influence our actions, and affect who we are. So we will try to understand whether our fear guide us, control us, or perhaps help us even grow. So please join me in welcoming Hitakshi and thanking her for leading us through what promises to be an insightful conversation. So welcome Hitakshi.
Thank you, Vibha. I think I'm more nervous now than I was before starting. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. I see this Chaitanya sir. Hi, sir. Hi, Sujata ma'am. Hi, Dr. Kamlesh. Hi, Raju. Very nice to see you. And hi, Vibha. Thank you. Thank you for yeah, saying words that still make me deeply uncomfortable. But yes. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll start. I won't be able to, I think, see things, but let me know. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Are my notes also visible?
Yes,
Yeah. You can see notes. What can you see? Like,
we can see
going
your
to
cursor is
understand.
moving on a screen and then just two words written together, very part.
Okay, cool. All right. So I think as we were rightly pointed out, so I think I would like to start off by confessing that oh I'm terribly afraid. And it would be really great to see faces instead of blank cameras. So thank you, Vibha, for doing that. But yes, I think I wrote to Sujata ma'am before starting the session saying I'm terrified. And I'm terrified even when it's my own safe space, right? That's what I consider Mashal to be. But it speaks volumes. There have been voices in my head since morning cursing me, और करो तुम volunteer, और लो तुम मजे, बड़ी हीरोइन बनने चली थी तुम. तो मजे आए सुबह से, I think खुद से बात करके. So I'd like to do that because I think fear is something that deeply guides us. And if I have realized through experiences, working with people, talking to mentors, reading, a lot of therapy, is that if there is the only way of managing fear is through, like, walk through it, right? Because the courage is not really absence of fear. So before we do that, I would like to just revise the iceberg of behavior, because that's where the real things lie. So of course, I think quick revision of Mashal day one. Everything we think is guided by our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs and assumptions, and under which lies our needs of love and fear. And fear is what we are going to talk about today. Um, and I think I would like to just reinforce that we don't decide the thoughts that we're going to have. None of us do. It's very hard for us to um, decide that. What are we going to think next? Because our thoughts are not really ours. It's very weird to realize what's running through our heads all day long is not really thinking. We call it thinking, and very beautifully, my dear husband says, "Dimag chalana, sochna nahi hota," which is true, right? So it's not really thinking, but it's. I think the closer description. I found these words from a coach. His name is Joshua. And he says this beautifully. He says it's a recording. It's a recording of people who raised us. It's a recording of things that we grew up with. It's a recording of the culture that shaped us, the wound and hurt that we absorbed while we were growing up and living life. And that's what keeps running. So this is why whenever we argue with the nagging voice in our head, it does not really work, because we're not really the person who's speaking, but we are the person who are listening to that voice. And sometimes we confuse and complicate both. Uh, which is why I have found that it's great to not even trying to stop, um, to or not even try to change what it's saying, instead, rather learning how to relate differently to it. We use this beautiful phrase, right, in Mashaal. Growth is the space between stimulus and response. And I think dealing with fear comes a lot with creating that space, because it gives us the ability to look at ourselves, sit with our fears, and just talk to them. Because while the voice in my head may say, "You're not enough, you're not doing enough, you will fail today," I get to sit with that voice and say, it's okay. I can see that you're scared. And that's all. And that's all it took for me to even to not cancel today's session. I know what I've went through between 5 to 6:30. But we learn and we live and we move on. Before we start, I think I'd like to quote the wise and beautiful Brené Brown. Three lines that I like, because I think all of us are afraid to be in. There are rooms all of us have that we are afraid to be in. And I think, and I did not realize it, but I think this room is also one such room for me, because it has a lot of people that I care about. So it works, but also terrifying. And I think I would like to say that today. But before we start, what we don't need in the middle of struggle is shame for being human. And I think one thing that we forget when we deal with each other, when we are working, is we forget that the person we are dealing with is also a human being, that they carry the same assumptions we carry, they carry the same fears, they have the same needs. And no matter who it is, it could be my boss, it could be my colleague, it could be my junior, it could be somebody from the other team, it could be a fundraiser, it could be a person I'm seeking funding from. At the end of the day, we are all humans, we all struggle, and we all feel shame, and we all are afraid. And fitting in is the greatest barrier to belonging. um, you know we all try to change who we are, and in the process we forget who we are. We also, because we are trying so hard to not be ourselves, I think it becomes even more difficult to see who the other person in front of us is, and that makes it hard for us to belong. But courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen, and I think I would like to do that today. But before we do that, I think I have a question to ask everyone. But even before we do that, I'd like to just give an example and do a quick recap of what does being seen look like, right? So let's say that I'm angry, and let me just show you what could anger be telling me in terms of who am I really? And am I really showing that to people, right? Because anger could be helplessness, could be sadness, could be others trying to control me. It could also be me feeling guilt. It could be frustration. It could be that I care. It could be that I'm hurt. It could be that I don't understand myself or that I don't understand you. It could be me failing and lashing out. It could be embarrassment. It could be vulnerability, humiliation, rejection, not in control. And the question is, whenever you have been angry the last time, did you show people around you why and what was lying under the surface? Um, Starting with the next question. When did you last let yourself be seen, really seen? Any shares? Any comments? I hope I can read them. Okay, I see a chat. Okay, yes, Dr. Kamlesh is saying yes, but any shares? Anybody? Vibha, I'm going to need you to moderate it because I can't really see it. Raju has beautifully messaged me saying, if being afraid is having this much of confidence, then I would like to be afraid. Raju, if only, if only. Um, yeah, it's a process. I'm still afraid, but I'm showing up. I think it matters. And everybody in the room gives me courage to do that. So, yeah. Sujata ma'am has said, I allowed myself to be seen in few places and held back in many. Yeah. Any instances? I think I last. Yeah. I think it's easier for me to let myself be seen in between this group because there's so much that we have shared and went through, and that just makes it easier, but still hard. Anybody else before we move on? No? Okay, moving on. So what we'll do is I want us to write, I've stolen a poetry prompt of Sujata ma'am and modified it a little bit, okay? And I would like us all to write down this and share if we want to, or at least write it down on our own ends, okay? Um, I fear dash, but what I really feel is, and when I hear the sound of dash, I remember dash, but the voice in my head says dash. I'll give my example, okay, to make it easier. One of my biggest fears is being visible and being seen by others. So I fear being seen, but what I really feel is that if I were to actually put myself out there, someone will mock it, uh, or ridicule me. And when I hear the sound of a laughter that has edge in it, or mockery, or judgment, or ridicule, I remember being young and I remember saying something that I was proud of, but being mocked for it. And and the voice in my head says, who do you think you are? So I don't try, and I'm afraid. So I'm going to shut up now and let you all write, share. Feel free to type, feel free to raise hands and share. Yes, ma'am. Let's go.
Should I share?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay, just a second. I fear being misunderstood, but I really feel that I must express all my emotions upfront. And when I hear the sound of people saying, I remember that I have always given more than I have got. The voice in my head says, you are enough. It's okay to be alone.
Thank you for sharing that. Does not sound like it was easy at all. Would anybody else like to share? Vibha, Raju, Dr. Kamlesh, Anupama, Chaitanya sir, I think you should also share. Vikrant sir is here. I see Anna. I see Apeksha. Fairly self-aware people today. It's nice. I think everybody in Mashaal is quite self-aware, so there's also that.
All of us courageous to be afraid are here.
Yeah, we'll talk to people who are not here in July and ask them to fill this poetry prompt. Anybody shared? Nope. My chat is empty.
So I'll go next.
Yes, please, Anna. Yes.
Uh, so the one thing that comes from on top of my mind when I think about what I fear is I fear being wrong. But what I really feel is um but what I really feel is that uh it's okay to be wrong in the right room. Uh, and when I hear me say that, I remember that I am being judgmental of me and I'm also being very strict about myself even while saying that. And then my voice and then the voice in my head says that, can you please let go? It's fine. Just it's okay to be wrong. Just be wrong. It's fine. What ज्यादा क्या हो जाएगा? लोग हंसेंगे ना, ठीक है, हंसने दो, एक दिन हंसेंगे, नेक्स्ट दिन नहीं हंसेंगे, ठीक है, that's fine, you can handle it.
Yeah, that's. I love how it started critical but ended up being kind and caring towards yourself. Shows,
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else? Vibha? You knew I was going to call on you. Come on, share. Share, share. You're
I could
muted.
not complete that thing. So that is very difficult for me. I don't know. I'm just scribbling, but not able to fill up the gaps. So
Okay. Nobody else? No chats? No, I don't see any chats.
no, no, yeah,
Oh, we see one
big,
chat.
big answer.
Vikrant sir has written, I fear expectations, but what I really feel is to be real and honest that I may or may not be able to fulfill them. And when I hear the sound of people, how people misunderstand me, I remember that courage isn't achieved in one day, but with setting with one loss or one win at a time. And the voice in my head says, it's okay to fall short. Thank you for sharing, sir. Vibha, you want to go or should we move on? We have time, right? Yeah, we have time. Okay. Okay, I have to finish in time. But yes, I think that's one thing so it was said by Susan David, another prolific coach, wonderful psychologist. She's done some incredible work. But emotions are data and not really directives, right? And we confuse that. All of us do. We think that when we feel something, it's valid. But no, feelings are real, but they're not always valid. So are not emotions. Emotions are data points. And I think we forget to look at that as data point and we feel a nudge to act on it. And I don't think we need to, not all the time. Sometimes it's okay to just feel it, talk to yourself, and not act. But moving on, courage is not the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and choosing our values and what we stand for and we do not stand for over that comfort. Because at the end of the day, courage really is doing things despite fear. So I have a question. What values have you chosen in life even when you were afraid? Or let me rephrase it. When you were most afraid of doing something, what was the value that got you over it? And you acted irrespective of being afraid. I'll give the example of today. I was terrified, but I chose to do it because I value following through and I'm trying to be better at it in life. So yeah, that's my latest fear of today. Happens 15 times a day. So it's that. I think feel free to write in the chat box, people. One value or values that you've been choosing even when you've been afraid. Sujata ma'am writes freedom and integrity. Dr. Kamlesh says honesty. Anna says being kind while being honest and vice versa. Diksha says faith in some universal power which holds everything. Vikrant sir says he does not also mind choosing comfort over value sometimes because he's also human. Uh, and I think at least to me, sir, that speaks of self-care more than comfort. In face of fear, Anurag sir says service and commitment. So yeah. Um, are there more? Vibha, I can't see. Can you read them? It's yes. Okay. Raju says compassion and empathy. Vikrant sir also says, oh, Raju says compassion and self-respect. Vikrant sir says compassion and empathy. So yeah, thank you for sharing. It's yeah. I think going back to what Raju asked me and what Vikrant sir said and Sujata ma'am said, but discomfort remains the price of admission to a life that's meaningful. There's no way to meaning without being true to yourselves. And I think being true to ourselves and being honest and vulnerable with each other requires a lot of discomfort. So, question: how much of what you all described have shaped a decision that you made as a leader in the last year? The values that you chose, the fear that you faced. How did that shape the decision that you made? And I would like people to share this. Stories, quite powerful. And it does not have to be a decision that led to positive outcome. I think it could also be a decision that you're regretting because maybe we let fear override us. And that's okay too. And your access says it creates trust when you choose discomfort for your values or discomfort for people. True. I wonder why though. Why do you think it creates trust, sir?
So I think just remembering one incident. I think there was assault on one resident uh, when I was a senior resident. I used to stay in Gurgaon, and it happened around 11:30 or something like in the night. Uh, Obviously, the value in me said that I had to be there because at that time it was not my department, it was not my resident, it was gynae department. But I, being RDA president, I so I chose to go all over to this place and make sure that everything was okay. And the next morning, I think most of the residents were saying this thing that just because you were there, I think it gives us some confidence. And after that, we had so many things, and I felt that because of those choices, I think then people would have a trust on you. You will see a certain degree of following and that thing. So that's why I think I wrote this.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
Hi, can I say
Yes.
Apeksha?
Yes, a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I'm afraid of taking any step, yeah, when I have committed to something, but now it's actually the time to execute, and I'm really scared. So I take a deep breath, and I trust this thing, the faith that I was talking about earlier, that whatever has to happen. So you just let it be and just do it. And I realize most of the time, I'm not saying every time, but 95% of the time, or even more, the things have turned out to be better than I expected.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy how much of the fear is in only in our heads. And it's
Yes,
anticipatory and perceived, but none of it
yes.
happens, right? And
Exactly. मतलब we think this, that, क्या होगा, ये होगा, but nothing actually happens. When you do it, things turn out to be really smooth. Most of the time, this is what I have felt.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I completely aligned. I think Anurag sir says it, or Roy sir says one of them says it. Just do the next best thing and don't think too much about things in your head because you don't know what's going to happen. Our imagination will not really do justice to life as it is. Anybody else? Thank you, Apeksha, for sharing. Anybody else? Dr. Kamlesh, you haven't said anything today. Anurag sir says fears makes us more diligent. It makes us work hard. So it's good. Hmm. I don't agree, sir. Not necessarily. I think we can work hard even without it coming from a place of, hey, I will fail if I don't work hard. And what will people say if I'm not perfect? And all that. So I do wonder sometimes whether source matters, even if it's leading to good outcomes for us seemingly. Um, any thoughts on that? Anyone?
I agree with what Hitakshi ma'am is saying. Like, the soul does not need to be just fear. It can be empathy, it can be compassion. There can be a lot of other motivators for you to act. My own explanation, my own perception to this.
Anurag sir, I shared something vulnerable. I'm afraid every time before any major surgery. Wow. Even today, sir, after so many years.
Yeah. So the type of surgery will change, but you'll always have things
Yeah.
which will make you, fearful.
Yeah. 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 Vikrant sir has written, the fear hasn't let me move ahead, but when I tried to overcome and failed, many people of my team said that I could have done better, but I did what I best could. Yeah, true. Does that stop you, though, sir, from taking risks now and doing things that you are afraid of doing? Has that impacted you or your decisions in any way? Vikrant sir?
Uh, yeah, it has actually to a certain extent. I still feel vulnerable, and I feel that many times that discomfort delays my decisions. But somehow you wriggle through that phase, and you just come out thinking that okay, whether you really did well or not, it's okay. You just sometimes through it, and sometimes you obviously think about that you should have done better, or and at the last, like you always think, is there's always scope for improvement. So there are three different things I go through. So and the most common is the delay and defer is something which hangs on because the fear of taking a decision sometimes is more difficult than just going through. I have not reached that stage for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I yeah. Yeah, I think I
and
know.
and and I don't feel bad about that. Where you are a very senior person and you should be. This is what how you should be. That's my choice. So I just can't. You know, that's
Yeah,
how it is.
yeah. I think last year, Anurag sir, Sujata ma'am have received a lot of messages from my side saying, I don't want to be a senior, मुझे junior बनना है. But yeah, they just say ha ha and move on to that. So yeah. Overcoming fear and achieving motivates us to tackle the next fear. It's like a cascade. Very, very real, very real. Though I think Apeksha also said that, right? doing it once makes it easier to do it the next time, and then doing it 2 times makes it easier to do it the third time. And slowly, I think we change the relationship with fear. Okay, I think I have 2 more slides left. That's all,
I
unless
just want
anybody
to add
has.
something. Dakshi, I
Yes,
just want to
please,
add something with regard
please.
to what Anurag just said about overcoming fear, achieving motivates you to tackle the next fear. But sometimes the repercussions of the same thing na, are different at different times. So but to say that, yeah, it is a cascade. There is something, the next time you're a little bit more confident. But if the challenges are different, again, the it doesn't just come out the way, it doesn't cascade that way. So I feel that every time it's a new thing, it's a new decision because the implications of that decision or that whatever you steps you take have different connotations. So to understand that also, sometimes there is a linkage, sometimes there is not.
Yeah, very truly said, sir. And Apeksha has sent out a heart. Anurag, sir, you want to say
Thanks.
something? Sir has said true. Um, all
So I
right.
think yes, it's absolutely every new, like for example, take it like a trekking experience. Every trek is fearful. I remember when Hitakshi went with us for the first trek, and she, because of her health condition, whatever, there was a fear. But when you overcome, you achieve something. The next trek, yes, obviously it can be more difficult. It can be different, different type of experience. But the confidence it gives is that okay, that time also there was a fear, that was also difficult. We did it, and it felt great. So let's try. नहीं तो क्या होगा? Fail हो जाएंगे. It's okay. And I think the law of averages. Now, when you keep trying so many things where you're afraid, you'll win in some things, and you may not do good in some things. But then it will even out because yes, we did 5 times. 3 times I failed. 2 times I succeeded. But 2 times were worth it. So I think I see it like that. Oh.
There was also that study that they did when they gave, I think, clay to two groups of students, and one group was told to make the perfect pot, that you have to make one perfect pot, and the other group was said to make as many pots as you want. And then they looked at the quality of the pots at the end of whatever time, I think 2 or 3 hours. The group that had done it more times and failed created more beautiful, more perfect pots compared to the group that was told to create only one perfect pot. So yeah, adds to that, sir. Anurag, sir. Completely agreed. I think no other way to get better at doing something but doing it anyway and doing it multiple times. So yeah, I think I'll move on and read this poem by Mary Oliver. It's one of she remains a poet that I really admire. And someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. And I think whatever has been sitting with you tonight, um, the fear, the memory, the voice, what is it trying to tell you? How can we make it a gift? What is it trying to give you? The voice, the nagging voice in the head, the fear that you're feeling, something that you're terrified of doing or saying or being. Because at the end of the day, I think it's our brain trying to protect us. That's my understanding of fears. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also saved us in a lot of times. Um, so yeah, any shares? Acceptance, says Vikrant sir. Yeah, true. I think I agree. Same for me, sir. I think it's acceptance even for me. Anybody else? Isn't it too much of positivity? True. But also, I think, sir, sometimes being afraid has also, I think, kept, I don't know. I don't know if, I think we're all a bunch of hopeful optimists. So So would you like to elaborate on that?
So
Losing
I
objectivity?
think statements like this, then like whatever bad comes to us, or what if somebody is doing bad to a person or to us, will also have something good in it. I also, in a way, to some extent, I believe in this. But we should not lose objectivity to the word and to the people. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो बंदा मेरे से बहुत खराब बिहेव करता है एंड आई विल बी थैंकिंग हिम कि भाई साहब आपने क्या गिफ्ट दिया मुझे. So that is what I think. This statement is too much of positivity, where we lose objectivity. Ki anything bad happening is very good for us. It's not like that. I think still we should have a lens of judging people who is good to us, who is not good to us, who is good to people, who is not good to people. That is what I was trying to bring to discussion. Hopefully,
Yeah,
this is good, but it should not take away that sense of judgment from you. That is what I'm saying. Over.
agreed. Any comments? Anybody else onto that? Sujata ma'am?
Yeah, I got disconnected. I was typing something. I
Oh,
think that this is also an opportunity because when I see people gifting me darkness, I become aware of those who gifted me light, and it allows me to be more discerning and choose. And also, sometimes overcoming darkness you face makes you feel so much stronger that I overcame this. So it gives you courage to say, bring it on, whatever it is, I'll figure it out. So I think, without this, you never know how strong you are. Those are my thoughts.
true. And I think to add to that, Anurag sir, also to completely agreed with what you're saying. But I think two ways to look at it, right? One, a negative experience, no matter in a relationship or workplace or whatever interaction, I can look at it from two ways. One, I can sit and be bogged down by it. Or second, I can learn my lesson from it. And if I'm learning my lesson from it, it'll be two lessons, at least for me, right? Very, very personal, I think, share. One is how did that change me? Or how did I overcome that? And did that make me any different? And the second would be let's also not make sure we don't get this done to us again. Yes, sir. Go on.
So I agree. I completely agree with a statement like when life gives you oranges, make a lemonade. That is because that statement is telling what we are doing actively.
Yeah.
This statement somehow is talking about the other person. You understand? Somebody has given
Oh,
me oranges. I cannot make him the good person.
yeah.
How I
I
deal with, we all are talking about how we deal with problems, which is the positive way. Yes, whatever comes to us, we will take in a positive way. We will come out of it. But somehow, at least to me, this statement is sounding like I'm still, uh,
Hmm.
this typical Indian woman story. Ki whatever you keep doing to me, still you are my Parmeshwar and all that stuff. So that thing I'm trying to say. Over.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed,
I,
agreed. I think
I
it's
think
the
it's
it's the
because
it's the
you
gift.
because of the word gift. If it was
Yes,
a more
yes.
neutral word, it would be easier.
Yeah,
Gift is like, oh, it's a gift.
yeah,
Yeah,
If it was more
exactly.
objective and saying, okay, I dealt with it, it's like sailing and saying, okay, today's the bad,
yeah,
the waves are high, but also, oh, it's a gift to be in a storm. So I think it's the
yeah.
word gift that is triggering, anyone.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder why
Triggering
is it
me. Yeah.
triggering, sir? Sir, I wonder why is it triggering you, and we'll do a longer conversation in July about it. Apeksha
Yeah.
said, life will give us whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this is the experience you need? Because this is the experience you're having at the moment. By Eckhart Tolle. Um, yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I would rather learn from it and move on and see what all I need to learn instead of just hampering on that and feeling bad about, ये गलत हो गया मेरे साथ. थोड़ा रोना भी होता है. मैं बहुत सारा रोती हूँ यहाँ पे बहुत सारे लोगों के पास जा जाके, but at the end, we move on. I think I just like to close with this. Um, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Because we all have fears, we all have needs. It's about what we do with it and how we act on it. And to know that all of us are, I think, afraid. We forget that. I forget that quite a lot, but it helps me to come back and remember कि सभी डरे हुए हैं. सभी परेशान है, दुख तो सबके पास है, लेकिन कुछ भी सब है तो सही चल रहा है. So yeah, I think this is my closing slide. Anybody, if you would like to share any comments? Yeah, I love that, sir. I will enjoy all that stems from whether from fear or whether from love. Yeah,
I will be smart to sidestep what is not to be dwelled on and focus on what makes me happy. Knowing that, you will life averages out. You have enough block, you have enough punches and enough highs. But you learn to sidestep and disregard what is not important. I think that's something you learn with time.
yeah. I think also life is what we make of it. So go with the flow, says Dr. Kamlesh. Yes. Anybody else before we close? Send a sentiment. Raju says ignorance is bliss. I love that. Yes, it is. Raju, I cannot agree more with you. Ignorance is so, so good. It's amazing. I think that's it. That's all from my side. I wanted to do short, crisp thing, not too detailed or running. But thank you for sharing today, all those who shared. Over to you, Vibha, for closing it.
I think the emotions have reversed on me. So before the session, you were the person who was anxious, and after the session, I. So,
I'm
so
sorry, that was not the intent.
but the session has brainstormed my mind. So I just could not speak more. But yeah, thank you for the session. And
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry if I left you anxious. Let's talk about it after this. Yeah. Bye bye.